You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Ever wished you could rebuild your network from scratch to make it more secure, scalable, and simple? Meet Meter, the company reimagining enterprise networking from the ground up. Meter builds full-stack, zero-trust networks, including hardware, firmware, and software, all designed to work seamlessly together. The result? Fast, reliable, and secure connectivity without the constant patching, vendor juggling, or hidden costs. From wired and wireless to routing, switching, firewalls, DNS security, and VPN, every layer is integrated and continuously protected in one unified platform. And since it's delivered as one predictable monthly service, you skip the heavy capital costs and endless upgrade cycles. Meter even buys back your old infrastructure to make switching effortless. Transform complexity into simplicity and give your team time to focus on what really matters, helping your business and customers thrive. Learn more and book your demo at meter.com/cyberwire. That's meter.com/cyberwire. Venezuela's state oil company blames a cyber attack on the U.S. An Iranian hacker group offers cash bounties for doxing Israelis. Germany's lower house of parliament suffers a major email outage. South Korea's e-commerce breach exposes personal information of nearly all of that nation's adults. Researchers report active exploitation of 2 critical Fortinet authentication bypass vulnerabilities and 3 critical vulnerabilities in the free PBX VoIP platform. An auto industry credit reporting agency suffers a data breach. Google is shutting down its dark web reporting service. European law enforcement dismantles a Ukrainian fraud network. Our guest is Christian Beek, Senior Director of Threat Intelligence and Analytics at Rapid7, discussing how attackers are accelerating exploitation, refining ransomware, and expanding nation-state operations. And a Pornhub breach proves the internet never forgets. It's Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It's great, as always, to have you with us. Venezuela's state oil company, PDVSA, reported a cyber attack on Monday and said operations were unaffected, though multiple sources said key systems remained down and oil cargo deliveries were suspended. PDVSA and the oil ministry blamed the United States, calling the incident part of efforts to seize control of Venezuela's oil sector. A company source said the disruption stemmed from a ransomware attack detected days earlier, with antivirus efforts crippling administrative systems. Oil production, refining, and domestic distribution continued, but exports were hit, forcing staff to keep handwritten records and halting loading instructions. The incident comes amid rising U.S.-Venezuela tensions, including the recent U.S. seizure of a tanker carrying Venezuelan crude. As a result, exports have fallen sharply, millions of barrels remain stranded offshore, and several tankers have turned back. An Iran-linked hacker group known as Handala has launched a campaign offering cash bounties for information on more than a dozen Israelis it claims are involved in developing Israel's Patriot, Arrow, and David's Sling air defense systems. The group published photos and extensive personal details of engineers and technicians alongside explicit threats, including references to their families. A $30,000 bounty was offered for information on some targets, with additional lists offering $10,000 rewards. The data has spread widely on Arab media and Telegram, including via Hamas, though its accuracy has not been independently verified. The effort is part of Handala's broader Red Wanted doxing campaign, which has targeted nearly 200 Israelis since October. The group is widely assessed to have ties to Iranian intelligence and a history of cyber and leak operations. Germany's lower house of parliament suffered a major email outage on Monday, leaving lawmakers without access for more than 4 hours and prompting suspicions of a targeted cyber attack. The disruption coincided with sensitive U.S.-Ukraine discussions hosted in Germany, raising concerns about timing and intent. While technical details remain undisclosed, senior lawmakers have acknowledged an ongoing investigation, according to Reuters, citing the Financial Times. The incident highlights persistent cyber risks to government institutions, particularly during periods of heightened geopolitical activity and diplomatic engagement. Coupang, South Korea's largest e-commerce company and often compared to Amazon, suffered one of the country's largest data breaches, exposing personal information from up to 34 million user accounts. That's more than 90% of the working-age population. The leak, which went undetected for nearly 5 months, included names, phone numbers, and residential entry codes, but not credit card or government ID data. Authorities say the alleged perpetrator was a former Coupang software developer who retained internal authentication credentials after leaving the company and accessed systems from overseas. The breach triggered lawsuits, police raids, multiple government investigations, and the resignation of Coupang's South Korea CEO. Regulators are considering record fines, while public anger has intensified calls for tougher penalties over personal data protection failures. Researchers at Arctic Wolf report active exploitation of 2 critical Fortinet authentication bypass vulnerabilities beginning December 12th. The flaws allowed unauthenticated SSO logins via crafted SAML messages when FortiCloud SSO is enabled, leading to admin access and configuration exfiltration on FortiGate devices. Affected products include FortiOS, FortiProxy, FortiWeb, and FortiSwitch Manager. Arctic Wolf advises resetting credentials, restricting management interface access, and upgrading immediately to patched versions. They note FortiCloud SSO may be enabled during device registration despite being disabled by default. Elsewhere, researchers at Horizon3.ai disclosed 3 critical vulnerabilities in the free PBX VoIP platform that could be chained to fully compromise affected systems. The most severe allows authentication bypass when a non-default web server authentication setting is enabled. Additional flaws include SQL injection and arbitrary file upload vulnerabilities that enable database access and remote code execution. While some issues were exploited in the wild, FreePBX has released patches across multiple versions. Organizations are urged to update immediately and ensure authentication settings remain on the default user manager option. 700 Credit, a major credit reporting and identity verification provider for the North American automotive industry, disclosed a data breach affecting more than 5.8 million individuals. The incident was discovered on October 25th and traced to a compromised third-party API tied to the company's web application. Attackers accessed data collected from automotive dealers between May and October of this year, including names, addresses, dates of birth, and social security numbers. The breach impacted the 700dealer.com application layer, but the company says its internal network and operations were unaffected. 700 Credit reports no evidence so far of identity theft or data misuse and is notifying affected individuals. Google will shut down its dark web report feature on February 16th of next year, ending a service launched about 18 months ago to help users monitor stolen personal data. The tool will stop scanning for new breaches on January 16th, with all stored data deleted a month later. Google acknowledged that while the feature alerted users when information like emails, phone numbers, or social security numbers appeared in breach dumps, it failed to offer clear, actionable guidance on what to do next. User feedback, including complaints on Reddit, highlighted the lack of specificity about which accounts were at risk. Google says it will instead focus on existing security tools such as Security Checkup, Password Manager, and Password Checkup, which provide more practical steps for protecting accounts. European law enforcement agencies have dismantled a large fraud network operating call centers in Ukraine that scammed victims across Europe out of more than 10 million euros. Authorities from several countries, supported by Eurojust, arrested 12 suspects and carried out 72 searches in Ukraine, seizing vehicles, weapons, cash, computers, and forged identification. The network ran multiple call centers employing around 100 people and targeted more than 400 victims through bank and police impersonation scams, remote access fraud, and in-person cash collection. Employees were paid commissions of up to 7%, with promised bonuses that were never delivered. Officials say the operation highlights the continued scale of organized call center fraud across Europe. Coming up after the break, my conversation with Christian Beek from Rapid7. We're discussing how attackers are accelerating exploitation, refining ransomware, and expanding nation-state operations. And a Pornhub breach proves the internet never forgets. Stay with us. What's your 2 a.m. security worry? Is it, do I have the right controls in place? Maybe, are my vendors secure? Or the one that really keeps you up at night, how do I get out from under these old tools and manual processes? That's where Vanta comes in. Vanta automates the manual work so you can stop sweating over spreadsheets, chasing audit evidence, and filling out endless questionnaires. Their trust management platform continuously monitors your systems, centralizes your data, and simplifies your security at scale. And it fits right into your workflows, using AI to streamline evidence collection, flag risks, and keep your program audit ready, all the time. With Vanta, you get everything you need to move faster, scale confidently, and finally, get back to sleep. Get started at vanta.com/cyber. That's VANTA.com/cyber.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
Christian Beek is Senior Director for Threat Intelligence and Analytics at Rapid7, and in today's sponsored Industry Voices conversation, we discuss how attackers are accelerating exploitation, refining ransomware, and expanding nation-state operations.
I think in Q3, look, we always track ransomware, right? And we always hoped that at some point the numbers will go down. And I was hoping that for 2 years ago. Then last year came in and I thought like, oh, wow, this is really worse. And it really felt like this quarter, like ramping up so much groups and initiatives that is like, hey, I think people need some Christmas money for buying Christmas gifts or something. But my God, like 80 groups almost daily active trying to do ransomware operations. And it goes up and down, right? Like you see groups disappear and then new ones are surfacing. And I would say that those are the smaller ones, but you have some of those steady operations that goes on and on and on. And it's like unbelievable, the volume of attacks we observed there, right? And I think that was one of the key findings there in the report. But also, if you talk about vulnerabilities, well, hey, we're in the middle of this React server stuff going on this week. it proved the point we made actually, like, hey, if a vulnerability is actually made public, then it's no longer a 0 day, but an end day. It's being exploited in the wild immediately. And well, that's exactly what we saw happening this week when it was announced. I think we hit at some point like 30 attacks an hour on our honeypots with regards to this particular vulnerability. And also, it's not only like, hey, let's try if I can use this exploit by some people, but no, it was also like really ranging from cyber criminals to nation states incorporating this new vulnerability immediately in their attack plan and starting to exploit it. So it was fascinating to see, like, hey, the observation we mentioned in the report now actually seeing proven alive as well now out in the wild there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that struck me when I was reading the report is how this is a story about velocity also, that the exploitations are happening within hours of disclosure. How do you suppose defenders need to respond to that uptick in velocity?
I think it's a challenge, to be fair, right? With all respect, like not every vulnerability and actually the platform is impacted lends itself for like, hey, let's patch this tonight, right? So let's say on Friday afternoon we get this notification that we have this vulnerability. It's not standard that we can actually patch this in the evening, right? Or it really depends on what type of software we're talking about. So it's really becoming really a challenge for defenders to actually actively or how you say that, adequately respond in fast enough on these kind of threats, and that's a challenge for sure.
Yeah. What about the ransomware that you're tracking here? How have you seen these operations evolve? And are there any particular groups that seem to have the biggest impact?
Well, traditionally, ransomware was really like, hey, let's go into a company. We go after the endpoints. You actually launch the ransomware. You find this ransom note on your desktop with this nasty message that you have been a victim. That is gone, kind of. That's really disappeared. What we really observe is that first, when they come in, they're not so much interested anymore in the endpoint itself. It's more like, hey, where do you stash your data? And let's go after that. So that's already going on for a while. I think we see now more trends, and this is of the last couple of weeks, where some of those major groups are really going after the virtualization environments. That's not new on itself, but that's becoming a focus and really going after that data. Yeah, that's definitely a trend we're observing.
Are there any particular sectors that they seem to be targeting?
Surprisingly, we saw a new sector rising in Q3, which was the construction sector. And with all due respect, in all those years, we're tracking ransomware. This was like a new one for me. It's like, wow, I haven't that one seen coming. But that was interesting. Healthcare, unfortunately, still very popular. But yeah, those are some of the significant sectors we observed for sure in Q3.
Yeah. We've seen some alliances among these ransomware groups. That's reflected in the report as well.
Well, at some point, there was this kind of, yeah, we call it in Dutch here like a fitty. It's like a fight going on. It's like a gang language, the word fitty, but it means like, yeah, you're fighting each other, you're doxing each other. And they were making fun of some of those groups that were being hit by law enforcement. And there were messages on those forums where it's like, hey, these guys can't do their job, so let's come over to us, work with us. We host the infrastructure for you. We help you even with negotiations. So we would talk about Dragon Force here. And at some point, we even saw alliances with Scattered Spider, right? That initial group of teenagers trying to attack some high-value targets. But definitely that some of those alliances were definitely observed. And yeah, I think if they want to survive at some point, yeah, this we'll probably observe this more happening.
Hmm. One of the things that the report highlights is how nation-state actors seem to be focusing on stealth and persistence. What insights can you share about that?
If you look at nation states on itself, right? Of course, they are not into the game for like, hey, let's attack a target and let's be detected very soon. They are in for the long term, right? And that's where the persistence comes from as well, I would say. But also, most of the operations for nation states is really like long term information, classic intelligence gathering. So they really try novel ways to bypass some of these security technologies we, of course, as vendors develop. At the same time, stay below the radar. And Yeah, we've observed some innovation happening over the past couple of months. We have seen some really stealthy backdoors that are really hard to detect. You have to know exactly, like they're sleeping on the system. And until they get like a specific command or like what we call a network packet sent to them, that's when they become alive. And then it's still very limited what they are doing. So it's really, really hard to spot. And that's some of the observation we've seen.
Yeah, interesting. Being 2025, I would be remiss to not ask you about AI and the influence that you're seeing that on things today.
Yeah, well, I was expecting and anticipating on this question, right? Like that, there's hardly in any interview when this buzzword is passing by, right? But
Right, right.
well, AI, I think honestly, I still would call it machine learning. What they're doing, it's mostly like look what we all are doing, right? Like for example, you write a piece of code and you say like, hey, can you check my code? Is there anything I can do better? For sure, that's some of the stuff we're seeing. I think the professionalism of creating a phishing campaign using AI technology, that's obvious, right? Some of those campaigns are so real, hard to detect, like if it's fake, yes or no. So that's why we see the embracing. And I heard also, of course, like this whole DPRK IT workers thing that they are heavily using AI to mimic people. They create fake profiles on LinkedIn where they leverage AI to create the images, all those kind of, hey, these are the educations you need to put in a profile to make it really convincing that you're dealing with a professional in engineering. So yeah, it's really like widespread being used.
Well, based on the information you've gathered here, what are your recommendations for defenders in terms of prioritizing their efforts?
I would really say like, if you look at the ransomware actors themselves, right, that they're really doing like what we call like a shift left. So they go really for the security devices at the edge of the networks, like the firewalls, the VPNs and all that stuff. And I think what we really need to ask ourselves, like, and back to your prior point, why you asked, like, hey, if you have this vulnerability and we can't patch quick enough, what can you do? And I think that's where we need to do our homework, where we say, like, hey, if they bypass some of this, I would say, edge protecting technology, where in my technology stack, in my people, in my processes, where is the next step where properly we can actually spot them? And actually, is there something where I might have a gap in my visibility, aka what is my attack surface, right? And do I exactly have the visibility I need to respond? And it sounds really like, do we need to go back to the foundations? Yes, big yes, I would say. Like sometimes we are doing a lot with technology. You mentioned AI, with cloud, we have all those beautiful technologies. But sometimes it makes it so complex that we hardly understand anymore. Like, hey, what are some of those attack vectors, and where do we need to look for this?
Well, given these realities, what's your outlook for the fourth quarter and into 2026?
I think the fourth quarter would be a lot different than the third quarter. I think the numbers even go up if you look from different perspectives. And then 2026, well, I think this year, I think at the second half of 2025, we had quite some of those supply chain attacks, Salesforce, for example, and Oracle e-business. Those had a major impact on well, what's happening and we had to respond. And I think we should take some lessons learned from those supply chain attacks and really apply them into the next year or anticipate on those, because yeah, that will only grow bigger, in my humble opinion.
That's Christian Beek from Rapid7. We have a link to their research in our show notes.
Looking for the perfect gift? Blink has you covered. With a Blink security camera, you're giving the gift of peace of mind.
A camera? Isn't that hard for them to set up?
It's simple to install anywhere, and they'll always know what's happening at home.
Okay, that's actually perfect.
Perfect indeed. Give the gift of smart security with Blink so they can check in on home from anywhere this holiday season. Shop now at amazon.com/blink.
And finally, Pornhub says data linked to its premium members was exposed The incident traces back not to Pornhub itself, but to a breach at analytics firm Mixpanel, a vendor Pornhub says it stopped using in 2021. Attackers linked to the Shiny Hunters extortion group allegedly accessed Mixpanel via an SMS phishing attack and stole roughly 94 gigabytes of historical analytics data. That data reportedly includes email addresses, viewing activity, search terms, video titles, locations, and timestamps. Shiny Hunters is now extorting affected companies, raising awkward questions about why such intimate data was retained for years. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our CyberWire producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.